Welcome and thank you for joining the Department of Energy's Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectric Incentives Community Benefits Plan webinar. We'll start quickly with webinar logistics. The purpose of this webinar is to provide an overview of the Community Benefits Plan requirements for the Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectricity Incentives. The webinar is being recorded and a transcript of the webinar will be made available on DOE's website. We are not accepting questions within this webinar. Please send your questions to the Hydroelectric Incentives inbox. The address is within the chat. None of the information presented herein is legally binding. The content included in this presentation is included for informational purposes only, relating to the maintaining and enhancing hydroelectricity incentives. Any content within the presentation that appears discrepant from the guidance language is superseded by the guidance language. All applicants are strongly encouraged to carefully read the guidance document. Okay. We'll get started with the agenda. I'm Luciana Ciacci, Stakeholder Engagement Lead for the Hydroelectric Incentives Program, and I will be facilitating today's session. We have Nina Peluso, Senior Policy Advisor for the Grid Deployment Office, joining us for opening remarks. I'll then provide an overview of the Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectricity Incentives and a Community Benefits Plan overview. I'd now like to introduce Nina Peluso. Nina, thank you very much for joining us today. I'll pass the stage over to you.
Great, thank you so much. Welcome and good afternoon or morning to our Western colleagues. It is wonderful to be with you today. As Luciana mentioned, I'm Nina Peluso. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor for the Grid Deployment Office at the Department of Energy. I want to welcome everyone today for joining our webinar with the Hydroelectric Incentives Program. This webinar will focus on the Community Benefits Plan for the Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectricity Incentives. Next slide, please. As I'm sure many of you know, the bipartisan infrastructure law provided historic funding for the hydropower industry, nearly $554 million in funding for this incentive. The department recognizes the important role hydropower will play in accomplishing President Biden's ambitious climate goals. The maintenance and enhancement of the existing fleet will be crucial to hydropower's ability to continue to provide clean and affordable electricity, while improving its ability to integrate more renewables, ensure public safety, and reduce environmental impacts. While we are here today to discuss the hydroelectric incentives, I did want to take a minute to provide an overview on the Grid Deployment Office for those that are not familiar. In addition to this work, GDO's Generations Credit Division runs over $760 million in hydroelectric incentives, inclusive of the program we're discussing today, and a $6 billion civil nuclear credit and wholesale markets analysis program. GDO is also responsible for overseeing $14 billion in grid modernization funding through both competitive grants and federal financial assistance, as well as formula grants for states, tribal nations, and territories. This work also includes territory recovery and assistance. Lastly, GDO administers several transmission financing and facilitation programs available through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and Inflation Reduction Act, including $4.5 billion in revolving fund and loan programs. If those engaged in this webinar are interested in any of those programs, please go to GDO's website to learn more. One highlight is our program conductor website that includes more detailed information on the various grid and transmission financing opportunities available throughout GDO and DOE at large. We hope that you find today's session informative as you prepare your applications, and thank you for taking part. At this point, I'll turn it back over to Luciana for an overview of the Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectricity Incentives. Next slide.
Thank you, Nina. The Maintaining and Enhancing Hydroelectricity Incentives funds capital improvements at qualified facilities directly related to grid resilience, dam safety, and environmental improvements. As Nina mentioned, Bill provided $553.6 million to remain available until expended. The statute states incentive payments shall not exceed 30% of the cost of the applicable capital improvement, and not more than $5 million may be made to any facility in any fiscal year. The letter of intent window closed June 22nd, 2023, and full applications will be accepted until 5 p.m. Eastern on October 6th. Additionally, we required the submittal of an LOI in order to submit a full application in October. Okay, next slide, please. As part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, we are asking applicants to include within their application and selectees to implement a community benefits plan a community benefits plan or CBP as part of their capital improvement project. This will promote broadly shared prosperity in our clean energy transition and build public support for projects. The integration of community benefits plan is a priority for the department. The plan will advance benefits through four priority goals: support meaningful community and labor engagement, invest in the American workforce, advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, DEIA, and contribute to the goal that 40% of the overall benefits flow to disadvantaged communities, the Justice 40 initiative. We'll take a deep dive into each later. Specific to this incentive, there is a 12-page CBP limit within the application. Supporting documentation to the CBP, such as workforce and community agreements, do not count against the page limit. It is important to note each element of the community benefits plan should be addressed within the plan that is submitted with the application. We've also made the community benefits plan objectives summary available, which is a useful tool that may help an applicant organize all four elements of the CBP within their plan. This tool is optional. It is not required with the submittal of the community benefits plan when filing. Slide, please. I'll now provide an overview of the community benefits plan framework. Here, we've outlined the implementation of the CBP. The community benefits plan should outline how the applicant intends to achieve each priority area and include at least one SMART, which is a specific, measurable, assignable, realistic, and time-related milestone per budget period, supported by metrics to measure the success of the proposed action. Progress of the milestones will be evaluated throughout the project. We encourage the inclusion of letters of support within the CBP from historically excluded geographies, racial minorities, and women as part of their proposals. Next slide, please. This diagram shows each element of the CBP intersecting with each other. Each element supports the other. The community, labor, and engagement provides the extent to which meaningful engagement has taken place and will take place with the community and labor partners. Quality jobs details the quality and manner in which the proposed project will create or retain high quality, good paying jobs and ensure that workers have a voice on decisions that affect them, as well as the extent to which the applicant has a plan to attract, train, and retain skilled workers and partner with key community-based labor and worker organizations and groups. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility demonstrates the quality and manner in which the measures incorporate diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility goals within the project. Justice 40 specifies the extent to which the project illustrates the ability to meet or exceed the objectives within the Justice 40 initiative, including the extent to which the project benefits disadvantaged or underserved communities. Move on to the first priority goal, which is community and labor engagement. Engagement with stakeholders can lead to stronger project plans, increased transparency, and the reduction or elimination of certain risks. Successful applicants should consider proactively and meaningfully engaging with stakeholders, which ensures that community perspectives can be incorporated into the project plan. Engagement is an opportunity for project proponents to hear from these stakeholders about their concerns and desires. Ongoing engagement and responsiveness to issues raised is important for reducing or eliminating certain risks associated with the project. Certain stakeholders are more vulnerable to and affected by project implementation than others. Go on to the next slide. Within the community benefits plan, we are looking for commitments and a description of how the engagement is intended to take place, what entities the applicant has already engaged with, and entities it is planning to work with. This portion of the plan may include agreements associated with other elements of the community benefits plan. As indicated earlier, elements of the CBP intersect with each other. Each element supports the other. Applicants should describe prior actions and plans to engage with labor unions and worker organizations, tribal governments, community-based organizations representing local stakeholders, including disadvantaged communities. Describe plans to negotiate formal workforce and community agreements in detail to detail benefits, partner obligations, and remedies to ensure accountability. Workforce and community agreements are tools that ensure benefits promised to communities and workers are realized. This could be an agreement specifying a project's commitments to the community. It could also be a collective bargaining agreement specifying wages, benefits, health and safety standards, workforce education, and other terms of employment with a labor union. Or it could include both community and workforce provisions. Examples of the workforce and community agreement include the Community Benefits Agreement, Community Workforce Agreements, Good Neighbor Agreements, Project Labor Agreements, and Collective Bargaining Agreements. Additional information on these agreements can be found on DOE's About Community Benefits Plans webpage. A link has been added to the chat. Second pillar of the community benefits plan is to invest in the American workforce, or the Workforce Continuity and Good Jobs Plan. Within the Workforce Continuity and Good Jobs Plan, an applicant will need to think through how they will invest in workforce training to support skilled workforce and provide pathways to advancement. This plan should outline how the applicant will ensure a ready supply of an appropriately skilled workforce to complete the project, how risks of labor disputes and disruptions will be minimized, ways the applicant will foster a safe, healthy, and inclusive workplace, describe how the project prioritizes local hires or an explanation of infeasibility, as well as outline engagement and any agreements with relevant trade unions. The project or a project labor agreement may sufficiently satisfy this requirement. Thank you. Investment in the American workforce has a compounding effect. First, it grows American jobs by investing in infrastructure and domestic supply chains and adopting or enforcing domestic content, manufacturing, and assembly requirements. Second, it improves the quality of energy jobs by supporting responsible employers, adopting and ensuring accountability with strong labor standards, and encouraging collective bargaining. And third, it facilitates equitable access to good jobs and training opportunities by focusing workforce development efforts on removing barriers to career track training, quality jobs, and career advancement. The third priority goal is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. As part of a whole of government approach to advancing equity, we encourage opportunities for the participation of underserved communities and represented groups. This will ensure equitable access to business opportunities, good paying jobs, career track training, apprentice utilization, and recruitment for operations jobs. Partnerships with community-based organizations, underrepresented businesses, educational institutions, and training organizations that serve workers who face barriers to accessing quality jobs and/or other project partners to help address DEIA as our key tools. The Community Benefits Plan must describe how DEIA objectives will be incorporated within the project. We're asking each applicant to detail how they will partner with underrepresented businesses, training organizations that serve workers who face barriers to accessing quality jobs, and/or other project partners to help improve DEIA in energy jobs. The application guidance provides a list of potential DEIA actions that an applicant may consider, including within their CBP, including a commitment to contract with minority business enterprises, minority-owned businesses, woman-owned businesses, and veteran-owned businesses. The last element of the Community Benefits Plan is the Justice 40 Initiative. Executive Order 14008, Tackling the Climate Change Crisis at Home and Abroad, was signed by President Biden on January 27, 2021. Under the executive order, 40% of certain federal investments should flow to disadvantaged communities. As part of the Community Benefits Plan, applicants for DOE funding are required to submit a Justice 40 Initiative Plan, which should provide an overview of benefits that can be supported by measurable metrics and describe the benefits to disadvantaged communities, or DACs. Applicants must provide an overview of the benefits of disadvantaged communities that the project can deliver, supported by measurable milestones. The Justice 40 Initiative section must include 1, identification of applicable DACs to which the anticipated project benefits will flow. 2, identification of applicable benefits that are quantifiable, measurable, and trackable, including at a minimum, a discussion of the relevance of each of the 8 DOE Justice 40 Initiative benefits. A description of how and when anticipated benefits are expected to flow to DACs. For example, will the benefits be provided directly within the DACs identified in the Justice 40 Initiative section, or are the benefits expected to flow in another way? Will the benefits flow during project development or after completion? How will applicants track benefits delivered? A discussion of anticipated negative and cumulative environmental impacts on DACs should also be included. Are there anticipated negative or positive environmental impacts associated with the project? Will the applicant mitigate any negative impacts? Will the context of the cumulative impacts created by the project, applicants should, within the context of the cumulative impacts created by the project, applicants should use the Environmental Protection Agency EJ screen tool to quantitatively discuss existing environmental impacts in the project area. The Justice 40 policy priorities are 1, a decrease in energy burden, 2, a decrease in environmental exposure and burdens, 3, an increase in access to low cost capital, 4, an increase in high quality job creation, clean energy pipeline and training, 5, increases in clean energy enterprise creation and contracting, such as minority owned or disadvantaged business enterprises, 6, increases in energy democracy, including community ownership, 7, increased parity in clean energy technology access and adoption, and 8, an increase in energy resilience. Okay, this concludes the Community Benefits Plan overview portion of the webinar. A few reminders that we wanted to provide. The full application window will be open until 5 p.m. Eastern on October 6th. To be eligible to file a full application, prospective employee or applicants must first file a letter of intent. That letter of intent would have been filed by the June 22nd date. Submit the full application through the Clean Energy Infrastructure Funding Opportunity Exchange. This is the same platform that was used to submit the letter of intent. And we've also provided several helpful resources within the chat. This would include the DOE webpage about community benefits plans, which provides a host of resources related to the community benefits plan. The Community Benefits Plan Objectives Summary, which is a useful tool for the development of a community benefits plan. We also recommend that potential applicants check the frequently asked questions page, which is on our connected to our 247 maintaining and enhancing general page. We often update this page with new frequently asked questions. Also sign up for the Grid Deployment Office newsletter to receive updates. Be sure to select the hydro incentives topic, but when we have a new news to share, we'll include it within the GDO newsletter. Okay, so I'd like to thank you for joining our community benefits webinar and have a wonderful day.